rolling on into the moment. All right. So it should be noted that this is being recorded. You should have gotten a notification at this time. So we're going to briefly go over our norms. The first thing we want to do is make sure that we practice respect, right? We're going to treat everyone with dignity, courtesy. We're going to value our different opinions, perspectives. We all have something wonderful to bring to the table, and we're going to be respectful and welcoming and inclusive of those ideas. We're also going to be engaged throughout this session. We want to encourage active participation. You're going to get out what you put in. So we want to make sure that you're actively listening as well as contributing constructively to the activities that we have designed for our session today. And last but not least, we're going to always be all in. That means we're going to be committed to being present in the moment and getting all that we can out of this session, as well as we're going to practice what we call tech respect. We're all adults here. We want to make sure that we stay and minimize our distractions as much as possible. And we're going to take responsibility to have a good time today, okay? And with that, I'm going to pass it on over to Tony, and she's going to go over our mission and vision with you. Tony?
I love the way you talk about those norms. I'm ready. If they're not ready, I'm ready. So listen, everyone, during our meetings, whenever we meet, we're going to briefly revisit the project's mission and vision. Take a moment for me and read it silently. Thank you. We know that the work we do will bring our stakeholders together in an effort to expose our students and communities to the apprenticeship experience. Let's look at our plan for collaboration. Our core beliefs. Let's look at our core beliefs. Our core beliefs and practices reflect a commitment to collaborative efforts for building stronger communities and expanding opportunities for both DC youth and the broader community. Success is inevitable, you guys, if we keep these principles in the forefront of our work.
All right, this is my favorite time to check in. So you've likely encountered the term branding before, right? So essentially your brand is your image, how others perceive you. So I want you to look at the colors here associated with various brands and the qualities that they convey. And I want you to select what color do you think best represents your brand? And I want you to tell us why. And you're going to put those responses in the chat. So what color represents your brand and why? And then if my colleagues, as they're dropping them in, can kind of speak to them so we can hear. Let's see, do we have any colors? Oh, I see a navy. I actually was a Navy and then I switched it. So I think I'm a red.
All right. Navy, because peace and loyalty. I like that. Okay. We got pink. Communication and trust. Navy. Got a lot of Navy up here.
All right. Deshawn is pink.
Who was pink?
Deshawn, I think.
Okay. Maria is the Navy.
Angela.
Pink, very warm and intuitive. Yes, I like that, Angel. Okay.
Well, thank you all for sharing that. So your brand serves as a powerful tool in conveying the essence of apprenticeship and shaping perceptions. So a well-crafted and consistent brand can enhance credibility, establish trust, and make a lasting impact when communicating with stakeholders. So I want you to keep that in mind because we're going to come back to these brand colors in just a moment. All right, so let's go over our agenda for today. We have 4 things that we hope to accomplish. The first, we have a dynamic guest speaker today. I'm excited, from the Department of Employment Services that we're going to hear from first. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to review what we learned in our first session, as well as the pre-work assignments that you all did by engaging in a collaborative discussion. And third, we are going to synthesize what we've learned, putting together the information that we learned today from our guest speaker. And lastly, we are going to reflect on our session today and complete a session evaluation. So we have a lot to do. Let's get started.
Okay. So we're going to start with Jocelyn Logan-Friend. Let's do it. Jocelyn Logan-Friend, the Project Expand Project Director, is going to set the stage for our discussion this evening by sharing the big picture, apprenticeship at the federal level, and how it connects with the local level. After she shares, we will welcome Deshawn Lawson, Apprenticeship and Training Representative from the DC Department of Employment Services. Deshawn will share insights on apprenticeship in DC, shifting from the broader perspective that Jocelyn shares to our primary focus. Beth Tuckweiler, the Project Expand primary investigator, will pose questions to Deshawn to help us narrow our scope. Feel free to add any questions you might have to the live document in the chat. So this becomes extremely important, you all. There's a live document in the chat. Please feel free to add any questions that you have. If time allows, we're going to address a few questions during the session and ensure responses to any remaining questions. The live document will be available on your roadmap. Your roadmap is also in the chat. So, if everyone is ready, let's kick off our discussion with Beth and Deshawn after Jocelyn. Let's go.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Just a little bit about the big picture, like she said. So the apprenticeship system in the United States, it consists of two entities that are responsible for registering and overseeing the RAPs. And that's the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship. And then on the other side, we have our recognized state apprenticeship agencies. So if you look in the middle of this slide, and let's start on the right-hand side, you'll see the state apprenticeship agencies, SAAs. Those are the entities that are recognized by the Office of Apprenticeship to act on behalf of Department of Labor. On the left-hand side, you'll see the Office of Apprenticeship. I think what's important to note here is that the Office of Apprenticeship is actually an office within the U.S. Department of Labor. So these are federal employees, and they register and oversee programs in states that do not have a recognized state apprenticeship agency. So they kind of split the two. And what happens is they take, is the Office of Apprenticeship has field offices in those states that then do the work that a state apprenticeship agency would otherwise do. So OAs and SAAs in general, they provide technical assistance and support to program sponsors, answer questions about apprenticeship model, guide partners on each phase of developing a program, and then they connect businesses to training providers and advise partners on available funding sources to support apprenticeships. So if we look at kind of a versus, so who's who does what? So like I said earlier, they both kind of like register and oversee programs, but in the Office of Apprenticeship, those are federal employees, right? Like they work for the Department of Labor, whereas the state apprenticeship agencies are state or local employees. So that's a pretty critical difference. When we look at the Office of Apprenticeship side, another critical difference is that all of the programs, they have standard documentation and they have a data system called RAPIDS. And so all of the data that's collected through all of the apprenticeship programs go through that system. So everything is quite standardized. Whereas when we have the state apprenticeship agencies, there are a couple of differences. So some state apprenticeship agencies may use the same federal paperwork that they use in the Office of Apprenticeship, or they may create and use their own. And same with RAPIDS. Some may use RAPIDS similar to the federal system, or they may create and use their own. And then on this last slide, it just helps us to understand which states are are run by the federal side, so the Office of Apprenticeship, and those are in the light blue, and then which ones have state apprenticeship agencies. Those are in the darker blue. And you can see on the right-hand side, got a little geography going here. There's Washington, D.C., and DC Department of Employment Services. As you can see, we are in the dark blue and we are a registered state apprenticeship agency. And so we have a little bit more flexibility to either, while there are state employees, we have a little bit more flexibility to either be with Rapids or not be with Rapids, use federal paperwork or not use federal paperwork, and then somehow make some local decisions. We're a little bit more empowered to make some local decisions that work specifically for Washington, D.C. So now, as we speak about Washington, D.C. at the Department of Employment Services, I'd love to hand it over to Beth, who is going to interview Mr. Deshaun Lawson.
Thank you so much. And it is wonderful to be here tonight. And I'm so excited to welcome our colleague, Mr. Deshaun Lawson from the Department of Employment Services in Washington, D.C. Hi, Deshaun.
Hi, Beth. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us. We know you're very busy. We know you have other work engagements later this evening. So I'm going to dive right into a few questions. We're so happy to have you here. The participants who are here are very committed to apprenticeship and to expanding knowledge of apprenticeship for district youth. And we know that you're a person who is equally dedicated to these endeavors. And so I thought we could just start with you telling our participants here, Project Expand ambassadors in training, a little bit about you and your path to being engaged in workforce development, how you became interested in this work and the world of employment and the role of apprenticeship programs in building workforce. We'd just love to know a little bit about your path to where you are now.
Of course. So my name is Deshaun Lawson. I'm an apprenticeship training representative with the Department of Employment Services. I'm a proud Washingtonian. I grew up in Ward 8 in Southeast DC. And as you guys may know, Southeast DC is often overlooked. So my way of giving back is going into Ward 6, 7, and 8, helping them find a job, get into college, find an apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is a pathway to middle class. A lot of people doesn't realize that the fact that apprenticeship is earned while you learn. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to be an apprentice. Once you become an apprentice, you're working a full-time job. You're also going to school 2 to 3 hours per week. So for me, it's just helping district residents get into an apprenticeship and to find a pathway to the middle class. It's very expensive to live in Washington, D.C. So apprenticeship is a lot of high-paying wages. Occupations are amazing, whether it's construction or information technology or education, non-traditional sector. So I'm just here to help district residents get into an apprenticeship, to learn more about apprenticeship and to get a pathway to the middle class.
Thank you so much, Deshaun. And, I've worked with you now for about 18 months. I did the math, and watching you work in the capacity that you work in with the DC Council and the support that you provide to programs as they're developing apprenticeship programs is extraordinary. Your dedication and the giving back is so clear in your work. Speaking of your work and DC's DOES, I just would like to ask a little bit about if you can help us make some of these connections that Jocelyn kind of gave a 50,000 foot overview about, just in terms of DOES and its connection to the district government, to U.S. Department of Labor, and probably even more interesting for us is that connection to the apprentice work that goes on not only in the district, Deshaun, around here, but also in Maryland and Virginia as well. We have this DC kind of metro area. So I wondered if you could potentially just kind of tell us about the longstanding support for registered apprenticeship programs in the district, and how that connects into the DC Gov, to U.S. Department of Labor, and to the DC metro area.
Yes, of course. So the Department of Employment Services, we help district residents find employment, right? So we have different departments within the agency. like out of school youth, OSY, helping with the youth find employment. One of our biggest things is the Youth Summer Murray internship program, where you can work from ages 14 to 24. And I worked there for 6 years myself when I was in middle school and high school, and the Office of Apprenticeship. Just like she said before, we're one of 26 SAA, state apprenticeship agencies. So we work directly with a lot of registered apprenticeship sponsors. We have over 350 registered apprenticeship sponsors in the district alone. Out of the 350, I would say 300 are in the construction field, 50 are in non-traditional. So a lot of construction is going on in Washington, D.C. That will always take place, right? So we're here to ensure that those companies that are working on these contracts hire district residents, whether you're a laborer, skilled laborer, whether you're an apprentice, we're making sure that they're working on these contracts. So a little bit something different is the non-traditional aspect of it. So information technology as well. So if you have a contract that's worth at least $500,000 in Washington, D.C., and it's working on construction or IT, it is mandatory for you to have a registered apprenticeship program, and you have to come to our office so we can help you start that registration so you become a registered apprenticeship sponsor that's recognized by the DC Apprenticeship Council. And DC Apprenticeship Council takes place of 11 members. So you go before the council to get approval. Once you get approval, you come to our office after that to register your apprentices with us. And then we'll make sure that the apprentices is actually going to school 2 to 3 times per week, 144 hours minimum per year, while also they're working 40 hours per week. It's a full-time job. So people have to understand that apprenticeship is not an internship. Apprenticeship is a full-time job, but as long as it's an apprenticeable occupation. So an apprenticeable occupation is an occupation that you can learn it takes at least 1 year to learn, between 1 year and 5 years. If you can learn an occupation before 1 year, it's not a principal occupation, but at least 1 year, it's an apprenticeable occupation. So we'll help you create your standards and take it to the step-by-step process of how to do an apprenticeship program, make sure the rules and regulations of the apprenticeship program, and then just make sure that the apprentice is taken care of, right? But the job of paying the apprentice is actually on the employer. Yes, you can get funding through DOES if we have a grant in that particular field, whether it's a teacher grant, whether it's IT grant at that time. We rarely give out construction grants right here in the Office of Apprenticeship, but we do other grants. But first and foremost, apprenticeship is a way for the company to build their workforce. The responsibility is on the sponsor to make sure that they have the funds to pay their apprentice. Now, if you're an intermediary sponsor, it's a little bit different. You can contact an employer and have them come before the council as well to adopt your apprenticeship standards, and they follow that, and the employer can pay their apprentice. But people always come to DOES thinking they can get funding. And yes, we have funding, but first and foremost, it's on the sponsor, an employer, to pay their apprentice. And just know apprenticeship is a full-time job. That's the most thing that we always have to tell people, that it's a full-time job. You're working 40 hours per week. Earn while you learn.
I quote you all the time, Deshawn, that apprenticeship is not an internship, because you've said that to me, I don't even know how many times over the last months, but it's such an important concept. And also interesting to know about, an apprenticeable occupation has that limit in terms of, the on-the-job learning component being delineated to at least a year. You also mentioned the non-traditional, apprenticeships that are available as well. There is a ton of construction in the district, no doubt, but also, projects that are supporting information technology and cybersecurity and other kind of non-traditional arenas. I thought it might help, and I'm mindful of your time, so I hope this isn't too long of a question, but maybe you could just help us understand a little bit about how those apprenticeship programs, who can think of them, who can propose them, how are they developed, how are they recognized, how are they regulated? You're speaking to a group of very dedicated educators who want to expand exposure in our DC K-12 school space, particularly in the secondary space, for their students to have exposure to these opportunities. How do those opportunities come about, and how do you guys keep tabs on those opportunities, and whether they're meeting the high standards that DOES has set in the SSA for what an apprenticeship is?
Yes, great question. So there are over 1,000 occupations that have been certified by the U.S. Department of Labor as an apprenticeable occupation. And these apprenticeable occupations include such as healthcare, IT, energy, security, construction, fire safety, education. So a lot of the times when we get a call, I know off jump if it's an apprenticeable occupation, right? But I send these contractors or send these sponsors or potential sponsors a link to our website, to the Department of Labor website, to apprenticeship.dc.gov as well, so they can pull up what is an apprenticeable occupation. But sometimes they like certain people think that you can be an apprentice in just 6 months, and I always have to tell them it has to at least be a minimum of 1 year. If it's at least 1 year, then it's an apprenticeable occupation. And a lot of times for non-traditional, that's a new sector for us, right? So over the past 5 years, we started doing more non-traditional work because we realized that a lot of these different education programs and teachers and IT, they need to build their workforce. It's a shortage. Whether it's nursing, whether it's teaching, it's a shortage. So apprenticeship is a way to build their workforce. So when they come to us, we give them a apprenticeship standards template. It's very simple. It's about 10 pages long, 25 items in that apprenticeship standards template. And we go through it step by step. We help them develop their apprenticeship standards. We do a work process which details the scope of work and what they're going to be learning on the job. We help them write their curriculum. They need help with that. We also have access to other people, different apprenticeship programs throughout the country that we can contact on apprenticeship.dc.gov to see a sample template of apprenticeship standards. So a lot of times, like, and if we don't know, we contact the Department of Labor because this is what they do as well. So we're just one of 26 SAAs. Department of Labor, they know more about apprenticeship than we do, even though we know a lot about apprenticeship. So we also contact them if it's something that's a new trade or new occupation that we're not sure if it's a apprenticeable occupation or not. We'll contact the Department of Labor. I'll contact our program manager, Mr. Lewis Brown, who we always call him the godfather of apprenticeship. He's been doing apprenticeship for the past 50 years. So if any questions that I don't know, I go right to Mr. Brown to get more about apprenticeship. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, if you can learn an occupation or trade within a year, or at least a year, it's an apprenticeable occupation.
Right.
And their rules and regulations are a little bit different when it's not construction. Construction rules and regulation is it's stricter. It's tight, right? Other aspects of it basically depends on how you want to run your program. It's a little bit different, right? So like being a teacher is totally different. That's something that you guys are masters at. So you tell us what should be in your apprenticeship standards. We can tell you the rules and regulations it should be at least 2,000 hours per year on the job, which is 40 hours per week working, or 2 to 3 hours per week in the classroom. But other than that, a lot of the things we look at your expertise when it comes to education. We're not experts in that field.
Right. You mentioned that the non-traditional occupations are more recent. We have a question in the Q&A about what some of those non-traditional occupations are. You said a couple, security and information technology. What are some of the other kind of non-traditional programs that you've seen popping up in the district and surrounding area?
Yeah, it's a great question. So green infrastructure is big, it's huge at this moment, especially in the district. Is district. Arborist is different. We have maintenance repair, that's different. We have CHW, community health worker. It's been around obviously for years, but as a principal occupation, it's one of the newer occupations, at least what our office is. And then you have education. That's one of the newer ones with apprenticeship as well. So got partnership with GW, as you know.
I've heard of it.
and Howard University. So yeah, so it's a lot of new non-traditional sectors that we're still learning how to navigate, because it's different, because a lot of these apprentices, especially in education, they are in school, so that's considered their class related instruction already. So it's a little bit different. Right.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start to look at the breadth of experiences that are considered apprenticeable. I was there for example, when the council approved the one of the arborist programs, and you are literally a tree doctor, a tree scientist, and the skill and the knowledge is so specialized, and to have the experience of getting paid from day one and then developing, this set of skills that's just extraordinary. And there's a lot of trees in the district that are very important to the nation's capital. So I think it's, you know, again, things that you might never think of that can be apprenticeships for students. So we'll be sharing more about that as the program goes on. Deshawn, I'm mindful of your time, and I know you have another commitment, and I know you only had till 5. So I'm going to mind my manners, and I'm just going to ask you, are there any parting thoughts, wisdom? Well, you have tons of wisdom, but any parting tidbit or thought you'd like to share with the Project Expand participants? This incredible set of educators has committed a lot of time this year to really dig into apprenticeship in DC, take it back to schools in any number of ways, whether they're in the classroom, whether they're working as transition coordinators, whether they're working in central office. Any last little bits of wisdom or anything you'd like for them to know or take with them before you have to head out tonight?
Yes, for sure. Yes, yes. So, like I said, apprenticeship is not secondary, right? I know growing up in Washington, D.C., I rarely ever heard about apprenticeship. It was always college, college, college. And I went to college, I graduated and everything. But apprenticeship is definitely an alternative, right? Everyone isn't made for college. I had so many of my classmates and teammates who dropped out, and they were lost when they was in college, and it wasn't for them. And then they have so much student loan debt. Apprenticeship is free, right? Won't be any debt. Once you become an apprentice, the employer pays for your schooling, it pays for everything, right? So just remember, apprenticeship is alternative. It's not secondary. It's another pathway to a middle class job. Like if you think about it, I had so many electricians, apprentices, who are making $40 to $50 per hour now, with no type of college education. You have plumbers, you have carpenters, you have a lot of amazing apprentices who are becoming journey workers that are making great living wages, $30 plus per hour, $40, $50 hours. And if you work on a federal scale job, you can make $60 to $70 per hour. So
Right.
just apprenticeship is amazing, and especially in the district. The district is booming right now. It's apprenticeship is very hot right now, and I just want to just make sure you tell these young people, mainly, especially in middle school and high school, so apprenticeship is definitely an option. I'm not saying don't go to college, because college is an option too. You just have options. The more options for a young person, the better. I always say the more options, the more exposure. Do shadowing, get connected with apprenticeship, the better off that young person will be, because they will have so many more opportunities to be successful in life. And that's the main thing. Apprenticeship is just another tool, another aspect that they can use.
Thank you so much, Deshawn. Your enthusiasm about apprenticeship is always inspiring to me and contagious. And that is what we are hoping to accomplish with Project Expand, is to expand that narrative that there is work, there is college, and there is apprenticeship, a whole other set of opportunities. We're going to try to make it even hotter in the district and get it going with these incredible Project Expand participants. So I would love to just thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. And we would love to invite you back later on in the project. You can check in, see how things are going. But many thanks to you for your wisdom and for spending a few minutes with us this evening, Deshawn.
Of course, anytime. Thank you. You guys have a good night. Anytime you need me to speak or to be a part of anything, just let me know. I'm trying to get apprenticeship out there as much as possible.
Well, you're doing a great job, Deshawn, and you can count on hearing from us again. As you know, you can't get rid of us, right? So that's
exactly.
Thanks, Deshawn. Have a great evening. Thanks. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
So what a pleasure to speak to Mr. Deshawn Lawson, who's been a real friend to our programs at GW, very committed to his work and very open to sharing additional information and ideas. So I hope that just gave everybody a little bit of a taste for just one of the amazing people who's at the District Department of Employment Services and the incredible commitment that they have to apprenticeship. So I'll turn it back over to the team. Sorry if we didn't get to the Q&A. We had limited time. Mr. Lawson had another commitment for work this evening, so I did need to be mindful of time. But any questions that were asked, we will make sure they are answered.
You know what, that was amazing. I was feverishly taking notes as he was talking, and I'm like, why didn't I hear about this when I was going to school? It was absolutely phenomenal. So I appreciate his work and the fact that he was able to come in and share that information with us. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our section 2, where we're going to recap what we learned in our previous session, as well as discuss some of the resources that you perused and that you explored in your pre-work. And we're going to start by revisiting the definition of apprenticeship. And I heard Mr. Lawson speak to this definition in his as he was talking today. So this is how we're going to do this. If you all can't tell by now, I'm an elementary teacher. And so I love using all of these elementary strategies. So this is a closed passage. And so I'm going to read through the definition of apprenticeship. And when I get to a blank, I need you all to drop which word you think belongs in that blank, drop it in the chat. And then we're going to check your work on the next slide. Okay. So this is what is an apprenticeship? So an apprenticeship is an industry-driven, high-quality, thank you, Thea. I see career. One person only put an answer in. Come on, you all. Alternative, okay, pathway, where, what's the second one? Students, okay.
Post-secondary.
Okay, see, students can develop and prepare their future
Individuals.
okay, career. Okay. And individuals can obtain paid work
skills, goals, experience.
Okay, wonderful. Classroom education. Classroom education.
Knowledge. Okay. Experience. Okay. Learning.
Mentorship and a portable
credential.
Okay, Tanya. All right, so let's go on to the next
skill set. I like that.
Let's see how you all did. Check it out. So what is an apprenticeship? An apprenticeship is an industry-driven, high-quality career pathway where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce, and individuals can obtain paid work experience, classroom instruction, mentorship, and a portable credential. So I think we got some A's and a couple B's in there for this one, but you all did a great job. So thank you for that. All right, so let's go on. Now I want us to recall our colors. You all remember those brand colors that we used, that we talked about earlier? So I want you to look back. We're going to revisit our branding color chart. I want you to look at your color, the color that you selected earlier, and I want you to identify one word from your brand color that would enhance the definition of apprenticeship. So for example, my brand color is red. It was navy, I switched. So my brand color is red, and my one word would be leader, because those who participate in apprenticeship programs can become strong leaders in their fields. So that's my answer. So choose one word from your brand color that would enhance the definition of apprenticeship, and please drop it in the chat.
We have so much good stuff in the chat. I see ambition, possibilities, energetic, excellent, confidence.
Thank you.
Freedom. I like freedom. Success.
Is there anyone that wants to come off, just one person wants to come off and kind of speak to their word and how it relates to this definition? Don't be shy.
I said energy, or like energetic, just because like you should love what you're doing and like feel passionate about it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peyton. Let me have one more person.
I said possibilities because the apprenticeship world opens up different opportunities and possibilities that you may not have known existed for you in different pathways.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wonderful. So I want you all to keep these things in mind, because you're going to need them as we move forward in the presentation.
All right, so thank you, Candace. So now that we have revisited the definition, we've kind of ironed out what an apprenticeship is and the definition, and we've even enhanced it a little bit and put in a little bit of our brand on the definition of apprenticeship. Now we're going to take some time to collaborate with our peers regarding meaningful discussion with our pre-work resources. Okay, so everyone received this pre-work document, and I'm going to just show it to recall your memory, right? Where you had 4 columns of different resources that helped us dig deeper into who's who in the world of apprenticeship. So this is the document that you're going to use once you get into your breakout rooms. You don't have to worry about the link at this time. Candace will drop it again, but we want to just make sure that this is the document that you will use to refer to your resources when you discuss with your colleagues. So I'm going to go back to our slide here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use what we call talking points. Okay. And these are just options, different types of talking points to choose from. And these are all sentence starters and stems that we can use when we're discussing similar resources and having our thoughts and conversations around it, right? You do not have to choose all of these talking points. These are just some examples. The goal is to choose 2 from this chart. I'm going to give you an example. So in column D on the pre-work, there was a video on the apprentice school on shipbuilding. And there was a quote that one of the individuals in the video, their name was Sabrina, and Sabrina said that we are responsible for the lives of the sailors. So I thought that was so powerful because even though this was a young person who was an apprentice in the shipbuilding industry, they felt a sense of universal and collective responsibility to these sailors, and they took pride in their work and in their apprenticeship program. Okay, so you're going to have discussions just similar to what I had when you get into your breakout rooms. Okay, Candace is going to give us 8 breakout rooms, and you're going to know which column that you will discuss according to your Jamboard. So if you're in breakout rooms 1 and 2, you will have resources from column A. You'll discuss those. If you're in 3 and 4, you'll use resources from column B in the pre-work. If you're in breakout rooms 5 and 6, you'll discuss the resources in column C. And then, of course, in 7 and 8, you'll discuss the resources in column D. The way that you add your response to the Jamboard is that you will click on your little sticky note and you can type your response and press save. Okay, so that's what's going to happen once you get into your breakout rooms. So you're going to discuss the following talking points. You can choose up to 2. During that time, you're going to record your responses on the Jamboard. And then most importantly, you're going to think about and have someone prepared to share how has this body of knowledge better help you understand about who's who in the world of apprenticeship. Okay, so it's kind of 3 parts. You're going to get in your group. You're going to look at these talking points and say, okay, which ones are we going to go with? You're going to go to your pre-work, find those resources in your designated column, and then you're going to record your responses on the Jamboard and be prepared to talk about how does this help us better frame who's who in the world of apprenticeship. So in the chat at this time, I know that Candace has dropped the pre-work document and the Jamboard. At this time, she's also going to open 8 breakout rooms for us, at which you will then engage in your work.
So Elise, before
Yes.
we leave, before we go into the breakout rooms, I just need to remind you that this is a great time to introduce yourself.
Thank you,
by
Tony.
sharing your name, maybe your brand color, that would be nice, and your current position. You're going to have 15 minutes for this activity. 15 minutes. I think that's a pretty decent body of time. Go for it, Candace.
Thank you, Tony.
We're just looking at these amazing notes.
All right, are all of our friends back?
I think so.
Getting there.
All
Getting
right.
People are heading back. We're
Coming down.
rolling in.
All right, so we can tell by these sticky notes that you guys were engaged in meaningful dialogue and discussion, and that really gets us excited because it really helps frame the work that you will do and take on as an ambassador by sharing all of what you're learning in these trainings and in these sessions that we're having together. We're just going to do a brief walk for some of these. I'm going to pick out a few that I thought were some standouts. I see here they're able to do an apprenticeship and save money, and they can go to college if they choose. And so that goes back to what Deshaun was talking about. Like, it's an alternative. It's not second to college. It is equally as important and an alternative pathway, and it gives options, right? And so skills that will allow them to earn a middle class income, access and opportunity for those left out of the loop. That's very, very important. Those words, access and opportunity, those are like our buzzwords, because it really speaks to the inclusivity that we have to have as educators, just trying to make sure that our children have an opportunity to forge their own future. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm talking too much. Okay, some other things that I see here: perseverance. The US DOL put in perspective that you never know someone's story, and that people with disabilities have an opportunity to participate with this. This is wonderful. We really wanted to hone in on that because, a lot of times we talk about what students with disabilities cannot do, but this gives us the perspective of what they can. And this is an option for a can-do attitude, which is what we have to have with those youth. I'm going to keep moving to I'm going to go to this last set. Students can learn hands-on learning that is comparable to academics. I think this is very, very important. Hands-on learning that is comparable, not second to, right? So just going back to what we discussed previously about this being an equitable space and opportunity for our youth. And so with that, we want to thank you for sharing your responses, and we're going to go ahead and put it all together. I'm going to pass it on to my wonderful friend.
All right, who is you? An apprenticeship ambassador plays a crucial role in promoting and advocating for apprenticeship programs. Your role is important because it actively contributes to the growth and diversification of apprenticeship programs, communicates their value to a wider audience, and addresses historical disparities in workforce development. I want you to start thinking about your role and how you communicate the importance of apprenticeship to our stakeholders. Okay, so from this point forward until the end of our session, we are really going to put it all together. You will revisit your resources that include anything that is available on your roadmap, your pre-work, and any information you gathered from the interview with Deshaun. You will also consider your brand as you begin to think about how you talk about apprenticeship with others. The end product will be your elevator pitch. Just imagine getting on an elevator and having the time it takes to get from the first floor to the fifth floor to talk about apprenticeship. What will you say? How will you define apprenticeship? What do you want people to know about apprenticeship? Why are you so passionate about it? What do you want others to do? What do you want them to do? It's a lot to say in a little bit of time, but you can do it. We'll use a graphic organizer, and if we have time, you'll pick the brain of one of your colleagues to begin to compose the elements of your pitch. Let's go to work. Okay. So this is a Freyer model. Okay. The Freyer model is just a graphic organizer that will help to guide your thinking. It uses the 4-square model to determine, clarify, and analyze word meaning and structure. And you guessed it, our word is apprenticeship. Each of the 4 blocks represents an element of your elevator pitch. You're going to use this graphic organizer to support you in conceptualizing what you share with others about apprenticeship. This will become the cornerstone of your future conversations about apprenticeship. So let's take it one step at a time. Open the slide deck and put your name on one of the slides. The slide deck is in the chat. Put your name on one of the slides. There are 4 prompts. Today, we're only going to focus on one of those prompts, just one. The one is your why. What is your why? Why are you here? Why are you going to make an amazing ambassador? What are your thoughts and feelings about apprenticeship? What makes you a great ambassador, and what expertise do you have that will support you in this work? I want you to take 2 minutes to think about that. Feel free to jot down your thoughts on your slide. You're jotting things down in the red box. This is your processing time, 2 minutes.
Don't you want to just say you want to make sure you claim your own individual slide. So if you see someone else's icon on a slide, go to a different one. There are 35. Somebody can start at the bottom of the list and work your way up, but you want to make sure you have your own individual slide to write on.
If somebody says we can only edit with the app, what do you mean? Oh, are you talking about?
That's the message I'm receiving. I can view it, but then it wants me to go and download an app to actually edit.
Are you on your phone or your computer?
I am. I'm on my phone.
Got you. That's probably what's happening. So I think that you'll maybe do it when you get back to your computer, or because you can't edit it without the actual like Google Docs. What is this Google Slides app?
Right. Okay. Right.
But thank you for letting us know, Ashley. Maybe what will be helpful is if you just in your notes app or, wherever you have on your phone, just kind of like jot down your thoughts and then you can transfer it later.
Okay, we've got about 40 seconds. Don't forget to jot down your thoughts. Okay. Is everybody back with us? Have you jotted down? Did you have an opportunity to jot down your thoughts? So this is your graphic organizer. This is how you begin to build your conversation, your pitch about apprenticeship. Today, you were able to complete or at least start thinking about your why. Later on, when you're not with us, when you have more processing time, you'll think about, what is my definition of apprenticeship? What kind of examples can I share with someone? What historical facts, characteristics of apprenticeship do I want to share in my pitch? So you'll have an opportunity to do that in the peace and quiet of your home. We are going to move, let's see, or let's do this. I might have 1 minute. They're going to give me 1 minute. I have 1 minute. Why don't we look at, Elise, can we look at, 1 or 2 of the whys? Can you read a few for me? I think you're muted.
I would like to make sure that students in DC know that there are many different ways they can access a career and help them earn a livable wage to support their family.
Okay.
I'm a believer that skills learned from apprenticeships are timeless, transferable, and can be more beneficial than college. Want to see my students gain experiences and skills that will fulfill them and support them for a lifetime.
I love it. I love it. So just remember, everybody, this is your graphic organizer. You'll even have an opportunity to kind of peek at your colleagues' work as they begin to think about how they're going to talk about apprenticeship. We should see some similarities. We should see some similarities because we want to speak with one voice. What do they say about the band? One band, one sound. Okay, thank you. We're gonna move to our session reflection.
All right, thank you, Tony. So you guys are going to have some more time on your own in your pre-work after this session to continue to build on your Frayer model and work with your elevator pitch. But we really wanted to start the dialogue and really give you enough resources and opportunities to be able to build your bank of knowledge so that you're confident in being able to proceed forward in the pre-work and our time apart from each other for these short next few months. Okay. In the meantime, though, it's a sad time. We're coming to a close, my friends, but we do have to take some time to reflect. So what we want you to do is in the chat, take one of these sentence starters and just give us some reflections on today's session. You can choose any one of these at this time. We're going to take a few minutes to reflect now.
I'm looking forward to introducing my learning to my students. Thank you, Peyton. I want to know more about the specific apprenticeships in the District of Columbia. Maria. Erica wants to know more about DOES, how they can help recruit employers to start more apprenticeship programs. I want my students to know about work options. Thank you, Ashley. I'm looking forward to gaining more information regarding apprenticeships. This session confirmed that I am on the right path moving forward with like-minded people who want to see our students win the debt to income battle. Great. Excellent. Thank you all so much for this. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing.
Beautiful, beautiful. And with that, we're ready to turn it over to Jocelyn to kind of close us out with our pre-work for the next session in Cali. But before we do, we want you to know that we value your feedback. We use your feedback to improve and continue to hone in on what we do as a collaborative professional development team. So just take a second. Candace dropped that link for us. Please, please, please fill out this survey. Only 9 people did it last time. It's more. We need more. Okay, so make sure that you take the time to do that. It's some brief questions that will help inform our work. We have a good amount of time in between our next session so that we can use this feedback to really dig deep as a CPD team and come back with something that you can learn and grow and is beneficial to you. Okay, so we want to make sure that you grab that survey link in the chat at this time and complete that survey. And I'm going to pass it on over and Joss or Kelly.
I got it. So yes, please save the date. February 6th is our next session together, and an email just hit your inboxes with information about the pre-work. Elise, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. So the pre-work for February 6th is cut into 3 different chunks. We are just focusing on step 1 right now. So due December 22nd, you will finalize your elevator pitch, and we will ask that you connect in a rich conversation with a student and or colleague to find out about who they are in the world of apprenticeships. Again, the email just hit your inbox. So please take a look at it. Do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. I will turn it back over to close out the meeting. Thank you, everyone.